Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had an excellent lunch. We're just about ready to start our technical track. The first person up is going to be Doug Peterson. Doug is a co-owner of the company and head of our R&D at Digital Transitions. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Commercial Photography from Ohio University and is the lead author of the Digital Transition Digitization Guides series. He has presented at multiple short courses at the IS&T Archiving Imaging Conference. He is a member of the International Standards Organization, where he sits on Technical Committee 42, which works on digitization standards. Let's give it up for Doug Peterson. Have fun. You're very welcome.
Good afternoon. My name's Doug. I like to call myself the head nerd. I'm very glad able to share with you today. Later after my presentation, Matthew, our head of product management, our head products person, will be presenting some of the tools that we're considering in the future and our way of thinking about products. Our first topic today is the IXH 250 megapixel. We've been working hand in hand with Phase 1 on the development of this next flagship camera, which we expect to be officially announced in the next coming weeks. The Phase 1 IXH camera has become the most commonly used camera for digitization, and we expect that the addition of the flagship 250 megapixel model will further cement that status. We're not quite ready to announce the features of this new camera, but in addition to a higher capture resolution of 250 megapixels, we are expecting a couple of really great productivity features. The IXH 250, like all Phase 1 cameras, are compatible with all DT stands. They're also backwards compatible to the stands we've sold for about 20 years. As well as our range of camera mount accessories such as the DT Ring, DT Elevate, DT Reach, and Advanced Leveling Head. On the topic of rock solid, over the last couple years, we've seen an increasing number of clients who have reached what we call the high score screen. This message pops up on an IXH after 1 million captures and suggests that you send in the lens for routine maintenance. Funnily enough, it's just for the lens. You don't have to send the body in, and it's optional. A lot of clients panic when they see that, but we become accustomed to just thinking about that as reaching another high score screen. The IXH is a long-term investment, and our clients' work shows that. Now, your intuition might be that 250 megapixels would be slow. It sort of sounds slow coming off the tongue, but the IXH 250 is going to be faster in practice. First, with 250 megapixels, you can set the PPI to a particular capture PPI and then capture a wide range of materials without changing your setup. For example, if you typically capture at 600 ppi, the 250 megapixel would provide a 32-inch or 80 centimeter capture window. That means anything that fits inside that window, you can capture at 600 without having to move your camera, move the subject, move your lights, redo exposure, white balance, etc. Place the object, click, done. Second, having a larger field of capture means you could start to use one capture area to capture more than one object. Later, we'll be looking at AI crop in DT Nexus, where we have added a feature specifically for this to be able to crop multiple objects from one larger capture. Finally, it's just natively fast. This is a brand new sensor. The electronics are really good at it, and it flies. Live view opens up, zooms, pans instantly. We're not ready to confirm the exact capture speed. You have to wait for the official announcement. But when you see how fast the capture goes from click to a fully resolved image on screen, I'm confident you'll be very pleasantly surprised. It will be faster than a lot of lower resolution prosumer systems, even though they're shooting at a much lower resolution. And if you haven't used it, Capture One handles high resolution images with aplomb. 250 megapixels is the same navigation speed as 50 megapixels or less. I think everyone who uses this new camera is going to be surprised just how fast and light it feels. And of course, DT is glad to assist you in getting one on hands-on in order to see that speed yourself. With the addition of the 250 megapixel, we will now have 4 cameras in our lineup, all tightly integrated with DT products, DT columns, DT lighting, DT accessories, and DT software workflow. Those 4 models will cover a wide range of budget and needs. Upgrades from previous models will be available, and institutions, as they upgrade, will be able to offer those previous units as factory refurbished models. See also that high score screen. Those things are durable. Next, we want to move on to lighting. We have 2 new lights to announce today, the DT Stellar White and the Stellar White XL. Our current light, the DT Stellar, will be renamed the DT Stellar Fusion. The Stellar White, the new light, is 1.6 stops brighter than the current DT Stellar Fusion and just a little less than 3 stops brighter than the DT Photon. Of course, it's really important to note that's the maximum brightness. You can use it at any level of brightness less than that, and it is compatible with the flash mode that allows us to dim the lights between captures automatically. So it's bright when you need it, but it's only as bright as you want it. The addition of this new light provides us a range of 4 lights. The Stellar Fusion and Stellar White are the smaller lights suitable for copy stands like the DT Atom. The Gemini and Stellar White XL are our larger lights suitable for larger copy stands like the Element, Versa, and Titan, as well as using it for any sort of off-camera work to do mounted easel work or wall work. The Stellar Fusion and Gemini have the extra color channels that allow DT Fusion, our hyper-accurate color mode that takes 2 captures in 1 second, and the blue mode for scanning monochrome film with the monochrome camera. We'll look at that later. The Stellar White and Stellar White XL are all white all the time, and as a consequence have a much higher maximum power. All of our lights integrate with DT Nexus. They feature flash mode, which allows them to dim between captures for a more ergonomic experience, and they can also be used in standalone mode regardless of what software, platform, or camera you are using. Next, I want to talk briefly about a study we are conducting with Dave Weibel at AV in Rochester. We are often asked and have been asked for years, how long do these targets last? And unlike prosumer targets like the Color Checker SG, the patches of an NGT2 are fully sealed. They can be cleaned without affecting the coloring. So we expect it to last a very long time, but we try to be objective, and the honest truth is you can't tell someone for sure how long something will last until it's been at least that long since you've released it. Thankfully, now we are at the 5-year mark where we have been selling DT NGT2s for 5 years, which means we can now do a retrospective study on the stability and health of those targets over a 5-year period. We've asked a few clients who purchased it early on to borrow their targets to remeasure those targets and see whether or not they have shifted in color since purchase. We've only done 1 so far, so you should take this with a big grain of salt, and we will certainly be updating once we've done more. But that 1 target showed an average patch change of around 0.1 delta E. If you're not familiar with the delta E scale, suffice it to say, that is an incredibly, incredibly small amount of change. Also keep in mind that even with a lab-grade spectrophotometer and a careful lab technician, there is some small amount of measurement error. So an average difference of 0.1 delta E taken 5 years apart is just super, super low. We expect to receive and remeasure more targets, which will allow us to examine the 1 patch that did show a delta E of around 1 to see if that is consistent with other targets or if that was a one-off on the particular 1 target we've measured so far. We're also glad to announce the DT NGT2 will now be, to our knowledge, the first repairable heritage target. If the user drops the target or drops something on the target that damages one of the patches, that can now be replaced as part of the paid clean and remeasure service that we've always offered. So the news here is that while you do a clean and remeasure, you'll be able to have patches replaced if they've been damaged. We also have some minor news on the transmissive targets we launched last year. As a quick reminder, this is a pair of targets that are used to create color profiles and to validate their performance on an independent set of colorants. Our development of those targets was greatly informed by the considerable amount of work we've done in the last few years, providing custom laboratory-grade equipment for national laboratories. They've been used for high-energy particle physics, medical diagnostic equipment, mineral exploration, and other scientific and industrial endeavors. That work is incredibly calibration-oriented and must be extremely precise and accurate, and that has provided us a lot more understanding of those processes and how to provide that level of precision and accuracy. In the case of the new transmissive target, the target uses an opaque mask between the patches so that each patch can be measured in isolation. The common problem on legacy targets is the patches are so small and so directly adjacent, it's actually rather hard to isolate the response of a particular patch because it's directly up against the next one. It also uses polycarbonate filters rather than photographic film, so that the resulting profile is emulsion-agnostic. That is, a profile made with this target can be used for capturing any emulsion. Whereas if you're using an IT8 or other legacy scanner-era target, you need a target that matches the emulsion you're scanning. If you're scanning NCC 100, you need to have a profile, you need to have a target on that specific emulsion. But with the new transmissive target, that's not the case. It is emulsion agnostic. Like the NGT2, this target is cleanable and incredibly flat. And finally, every transmissive target sold includes its individual measurements, not averages. So in short, these are super accurate, super precise, modern targets designed specifically for color profiling, camera-based film digitization. The news today is that these two node targets that have been supported by DT Nexus, ImageZebra, and basICColor already will now be having support added in Golden Thread in the next few weeks. We've been working with Don Williams in order to test a preview beta. Things are looking good, and they expect to be releasing that in the next few weeks. We also expect it to come to Beyond RGB in the first half of next year. That's RIT's open source dual RGB platform. We would love to see even more software support these targets. We believe in openness and transparency. So DT has developed a guide of documentation on our website, docs.digitaltransitions.com, for all of our targets, including these new targets. If you're watching this webinar and provide your own software, if you're the programmer or somebody who worked for the programmer, we would love for you to support our targets. We give you all of the measurements, the dimensions, the specifications, the files, everything you'll need. And if you have any questions, you're very welcome to reach out. We'll give you help all along the way. We would love to see these targets even more broadly supported. Each one of those companies that already supports our target also supports the Open Qualia label, with the exception of basICColor. The Open Qualia label encodes the serial number specific measurements so that they can be referenced wherever that target is found. Since every target is individually measured, that means you'll have those measurements whichever software you use to calibrate or validate in. Our Open Qualia labels have also gotten a major upgrade. If you get your phone out and scan the one on the screen, I'm going to show you the new thing, which is that when you scan one of these Open Qualia targets, you'll get a human-friendly page where you can download the measurement file or get a custom overlay made specifically with that serial number's measurements. That provides greater transparency for those who want it. In fact, all DT measurements, and thanks to Don's participation, all of the ISA Golden Thread FADG 19264 targets are publicly available on our Open Qualia server for free, including their spectral measurements and lab values. These are the measurements that DT Nexus automatically uses, so most users that use DT Nexus won't need this website. Nexus takes care of all of this for you automatically. That's rather the point of Nexus, is that it makes all of this simple and straightforward. But for more advanced users that want to dig into those measurements or use them in another software that doesn't support Open Qualia automatically, this website provides you a powerful tool to do that. Next, I do want to talk about DT Nexus, our long-term commitment to improving heritage digitization workflow. DT Nexus is a companion app to Capture One, providing features and workflows specific to heritage digitization. It is currently in free beta, and we have made some pretty big improvements to DT Nexus, which we expect to release in just a few weeks in December 2025. DT is committed to providing complete solutions, the hardware like cameras, lighting, stands, targets, accessories, and the software that they integrate into. We aim for the best total experience, and we believe that software is a vital component of that. We've made improvements to color profiling with DT Nexus. If you've ever had a profile where Golden Thread reports perfect colors and tones all the way down up until the very, very bottom, and the blacks are a little bit high or low, our new black point compensation option and preferences can help anchor that black point. We've also added the option to customize the profile name, making it a little easier to keep organized on the profiles you're making. We've also improved the UI when two targets are used. We are firm believers that if you're making a custom color profile, you should evaluate the quality of that profile with some other target, not the one you use to make the profile, but an independent set of colors. That works even better now in DT Nexus. With these improvements, we are ready to recommend Nexus to our clients as a replacement for basICColor. We loved and love basICColor. We have been their partner, or have been the partner of that company for a very long time. But around this time last year, basICColor's founders informed us they were selling basICColor to a new company. And despite reaching out to the new owners several times, we have received no firm answer on what they plan to do with it. So our testing shows that Nexus creates a profile as accurate as basICColor, and it does so in far fewer clicks and without a separate software package, which leaves us recommending DT Nexus for profiling. Here is a recent example of using DT Nexus to profile transmissive material, courtesy of David Stecker at the National Gallery of Prague. It's a little bit hard to understand what you're seeing on screen there. That is a digitization of a piece of film capturing a painting. So it's not a picture directly of the painting, but of a piece of film from the original capture of that painting. It is a 4x5 Ektachrome, and it's a film capture of Feast of the Rose Garlands by Albrecht Dürer. Here it is with the default profile for DT lighting in Capture 1. And here it is, profiled with DT Nexus and the DT Transmissive Profiling Target. Our experience over the last few years is that the difference that making a custom profile makes is larger for transmissive than for reflective. That is a broad statement, but it is one that we've found consistently true. An online presentation is not great for evaluating the quality of color profiling, but the client and technician agree the Nexus profile was a significantly better match to the original object. Next, let's talk about light control in DT Nexus. Nexus directly integrates DT lighting into the Capture 1 digitization workflow. That includes adjusting power in very small fractions of a stop down to 1/100th of a stop, controlling the flash mode that dims light between captures, and allows lights to be grouped and named for easier use. We've updated this tool now in the new version to support our new DT Stellar White and Stellar White XL lights. So all of our lights will be controllable through the same software. And for those who have a DT Fusion light, that is the new name for the DT Stellar we've been selling for several years, we've added a blue mode to Nexus. JP, formerly of the Center for Creative Photography, the house of Edward Weston and Ansel Adams and many other American photographers, published his thesis, Increased Resolution in Black and White Film Digitization Utilizing a Narrow Bandpass Filtered Light Source. That's a typically long thesis name, but it just means that the best way to scan black and white film is to use a monochrome camera like the Phase 1 IXH achromatic and a blue light source. This captures more film detail than a standard color camera would using a white light source. So if you have a lot of monochrome film, this is something to consider, and DT Nexus, along with the DT Stellar Fusion Light, provide that as an integrated solution. And finally, the thing I'm most excited to talk about today, our biggest improvement coming to DT Nexus in December, is the next version of AI Crop. And this time, it does really work. We first released a version of AI Crop in September 2024. It was, simply put, not ready. It was not very precise, it was not very robust, and it plain just didn't work very well. At last year's Roundtable, we explained that, and we said that we needed the community itself to help us by providing more diverse sample materials to train and test the AI Crop model. We asked, we begged, and you guys came through. The community sent us lots of images. We got to see the full range of diversity out there in terms of collections, and we have been able to use that, along with a whole lot of learning about AI modeling, in order to train a brand new AI model. Along the way, we have gained significant expertise in AI modeling. And with that shiny new model in hand, we have revamped the entire tool, and I'm pleased to say I think it works really well. Our digitization team, Pixel Acuity, DT Services, is already using it as they digitize client material, and we have 4 clients that have been kind enough to put up with testing early builds to provide us real-world feedback. So at this point, we're just polishing things up, chasing down a few last bugs, and writing updated documentation. We expect to release that update in 2025 in December. And I would love to show you some of those new features in AI Crop. It will take me just one moment to switch over. Okay, so this is Capture 1 on the right, and on the left is DT Nexus. DT Nexus, again, is a companion app. It sits to the left of or to the right of DT Nexus and provides tools specific to cultural heritage digitization. We're going to look at AI Crop And on the right side here, you'll see 9 images representing some decent diversity in terms of flat, loose material. In AI crop in DT Nexus, we select loose, find largest, straighten to best fit, and padding of 200 pixels, and we start the cropping. AI crop identifies the material, crops it, straightens it, and provides us the final result inside of Capture One. Now, this is pretty basic material. I like to call these white rectangles on black backgrounds, and that's something that the existing legacy cropping tools like Capture One CH's auto crop already do quite well. So let's take a look at a more challenging example. Here we have some examples of very low contrast material. A good rule of thumb with computer vision, the sort of legacy technology being used in other cropping tools, is that if you squint your eyes a little bit and blur your vision, if you stop seeing the object, so will computer vision. But with AI cropping, if I select these and I start the crop, you'll see that it robustly identifies the object and crops to it even when it's very low in contrast. In fact, even though this looked like it was miscropped, you'll see that the crop it assigned is actually to the edge of the object, which you may not have even noticed was a very light white on white background. So even with extremely low contrast and with no intervention from the user, we're able to find things of low contrast. If you're shooting with an ISA or image engineering object level target, you may wish to have one version of a derivative that includes that target and potentially a version of it that does not. Here we'll select loose, include target, and crop. What we'll find is that it crops to the object and then extends the crop to the target. That works even if the target is larger than the object, as it is in this top left example. It works even if the target is at an angle, and it works even if the object is low in contrast. The target can be on the left, the right, the top, the bottom, close, or far. It just needs to have some meaningful separation from the object, and the target will be identified, and the crop will be extended to it. Next, let's take a look at shooting. There we go. Shooting some multiple objects at the same time. Here are 2 captures, and each capture included 4 postcards. We're going to select both of those images. We're going to select find all instead of find largest, and we'll go ahead and crop. For each of the 2 raw captures, we will get 4 crops. In this case, it looks like the individual placing the postcards in the table didn't rotate them. They could have. AI crop would have worked with that. But here we'll just quickly flip those that need flipping, and now we have 8 variants from those 2 captures. We also have a variety of straightening options. Complex material may not have clean, clear edges. So we can use straighten to in a variety of ways. We can straighten to a particular edge. If it is bound material, we can straighten to the gutter. Or if it is textual content, we can include a straighten option for text. Here I'll select all images and straighten to the text. The crop will find the object, and then we'll straighten it based on the content of the image. So here you see before and after for this particular page. The slanted text is because the text block is not straight to the edge of the document, so we can choose to straighten to the text or to straighten to the document. We have a mode for one-up capture. If you're using the DT BC100, DT vCradle, or a foam wedge, you're often capturing one particular page, we call that the image page, and then also as a part of the physicality of the capture, capturing the non-image page, the one across the gutter. We can select all, select the one-up mode, include the fanning and cover, and crop the image. Here we'll find the image page and then crop to it. Now, some bound material shot in this manner may have considerable fanning or cover material. Earlier, we selected include fanning or cover. We can uncheck that now and run on this image, and we'll see that it will crop to just the active page. Here we're using 200 pixels of padding, so the crop that it's being done is against this red line. It's finding the page and extending it 200 pixels from there, also straightening based on that page rather than the cover material around it. Next is two-up books. This is the DT Versa, or capturing on a flat table with glass, or capturing material like brochures without glass on a hard top. Selecting all, and pardon me, I will need to select by same, the second variant from the previous test, and select all, two up, split it gutter, include the fanning, and crop. This will not only crop to the individual pages, it will make different variants for the different pages. So now we have two-up material that looks like this. When doing this for books, we may find that the crop assigned is very slightly different from one capture to the next. For example, in this one-up set of documents, we see that the width of the crop, 3240, 3240, 3108. That's not an accident. The AI crop will, of course, find slightly different sizes for each page, and likewise the vertical is very slightly different. Here in the batch crop adjust inside of DT Nexus, I can choose to unify the height, leaving the width to float. This can be helpful, for example, if we're loading these images into a viewer and wish them to appear the same relative size as the user clicks through them. In one click, all of the images are set to that same maximum height of the largest height of the selection. When dealing with pagination, after we do a crop like two up, after we page split, we may find an inherent limitation of Capture One. Capture One only allows you to name files, not variants. So by doing this page splitting, the middle two page spreads are being provided the same name for both pages. We can select all, convert variants into files, and after it's done the variant to file conversion, we will have one file for each of those pages. If it was a picture or an image or a file of one page, it'll still be one file. If it was a picture of two pages up, it'll be split, and each of them will receive its own file. That means all of the standard file naming that we can use here, for example, batch renaming, can be brought to bear in a simple way. And now we have continuous numbering, one for each page. Lastly, for quality control purposes, it's sometimes useful to be able to crop quickly to the target. Usually, we're cropping to the object and either including or excluding the target, but we have a dedicated mode called Target for QC, where the images are cropped automatically to the targets themselves. Thank you very much to Yale in this case for the suggestion. We do try very hard to listen, especially to our earliest beta testers, on the features and tools they would like to see the most. Great. So now I'm going to switch back to my presentation and talk about a summary of those. Extended. Good. Do I have my presentation up on the other? Fantastic. Thank you. We'll just flip through the pre-recording in case any of the live demoing didn't work, but all the live demoing worked beautifully. So those were just a few of the features we're bringing in AI crop that will be released in December 2025. As a companion app to Capture One, DT Nexus extends and refines the digitization process, offering a much wider range of tools, especially in terms of cropping and straightening. It's very important to note here, DT Nexus is genuinely using an AI model. I know that sometimes people use the word AI for anything at all, but this is a genuine AI model. But that model is entirely local. The model is local, the GPU inference is local, the result is local, the image never leaves your computer. In this version, we think that we have dressed loose material, such as letters, photographic prints, and bound material, such as books and newspapers. We also have an experimental mode I did not show you called Inset, which is meant for situations where there are nested rectangles such as matted photos, matted artwork, and scrapbooks. We're still working on that mode. We don't know if it'll be ready or not for December, and we are still working on that tool. But based on feedback from the community, it seems like the next priority should probably be photographic film and related materials. Things like film negatives, slides, film contact sheets, and microfiche. If you have feedback on that, if you have a different type of material you think should come first, we would love to hear from you because it is you that this entire tool is for. We'd love if you could help us with that. You guys provided us images of bound material and loose material, and that is why today we have an AI crop that we will be releasing that works well with those materials. We're looking for images of film, slides, microfiche, scrapbooks, and matted artwork now. That will help us as we move forward to the next set of AI crop modes. We can accept training images in any camera format, any type, RAW, JPEG, TIFF. Doesn't have to be high res. Anything over around 2000 pixels is fine. The one main requirement, it has to be uncropped. We can't use it to teach a model to crop if it's already cropped. As a thank you for your time and effort, we'll offer you a free license to Nexus. More files means a longer license. And of course, those free months will start when we launch the software as a paid piece of software. To use DT Nexus, you'll need a Mac, especially one with an Apple Silicon processor. That's any Mac released in about the last 6 years. It needs to have the current or most recent OS. And our testing shows that even a $600 Mac Mini, the current M4 Mac Mini, does a pretty good job. And all the demos you just watched were on a $2,000 MacBook Pro. So you don't necessarily have to have a super beefy computer, although, of course, faster is always better. Because DT Nexus is a companion app to Capture One, you will need a license for Capture One, but it can be any license. We do generally recommend Capture One CH. It provides tools like the DT Auto Column integration and resolution ruler, but Pro, CH, Studio, and DB all work with Nexus. Finally, we've decided that Nexus will only work with RAWs, TIFFs, and JPEGs that come from a Phase 1 camera. So if you'd like to test Nexus and you don't have one of those cameras, we're glad to help set you up with one in order to test it. The current beta is free. The new beta with AI crop will be available in December, also free. So if you go to the website today, you will get the one without this new set of improvements, but in December, it will have the new improvements. And of course, we expect there to be a bug here or there. That's the nature of beta. That's why it's currently a free beta. On the other hand, we think it works pretty darn well, and we're looking forward to seeing if that's true for you. It should be able to help save you a lot of time and provide good quality in doing profiling and validation of your color, controlling your DT lighting, using DT Fusion to provide hyper-accurate color, provided you have a DT Stellar Fusion light, and save you time with AI cropping and straightening. So we encourage you to try out that beta at nexus.digitaltransitions.com, especially in December once we've released that next version. Thanks for your time and attention. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or feedback. Thank you. I believe we have a decent amount of time for Q&A.
Again, Doug, thank you. That was awesome, as always. First question that we have here is coming from Julie McVeigh. Do the new lights still go to 11?
So that will be a question for our product manager. My personal opinion, they should actually go to 12.5 because they are brighter than the 11 of the DT Nexus Stellar, DT Stellar Fusion.
Yep.
But that will be something we decide together, product management and us. I'm personally really hoping for 12.5.
Yes, at least. Our next question, I believe this is from Stanford, Chris Hacker. Any updates to the lenses, I guess lens formulations and new lenses for the new IXH 250 megapixel camera?
We expect that the IXH 72mm Mark II lens will hold the detail of the 150 megapixel sensor. Sorry, the 250 megapixel sensor. You get used to saying that. We have a lot of expectation that lens will perform extremely well. I will say the 72mm Mark I probably will not be up to the task. And so if you do have that older lens as part of an upgrade to 250 megapixels, you'd also want to upgrade your lens.
This is coming in from Paul Ekoff. When you officially launch DT Nexus, can you host a webinar and or workshop?
Absolutely. Unquestionably, when we go to launch, we will have online resources probably live as well as recorded. And I will say a nice thing about working with a company like Digital Transitions is that we expect to be very hands-on with our clients adopting the software. Our support team is there ready for you to help make sure you understand how to make the most use out of that software. Software to us is a way for our hardware and our total solution to work best. And so we'll support it along with hardware, just like we always have for you.
Our next question is, again, a technical question. Can one use a blue gel on a white light source and get the same sharper result for black and white film?
It's a great question. The answer is yes. The JP Wesley, the JP thesis that I put up on the screen, maybe somebody could drop it in the chat if they got the name well enough. Maybe Ben Court could do that. I think he has the thesis name. That thesis covers his reporting on using various different types of gels and narrowband light sources. The big advantage of using the light is that you're not dealing with interjecting and then removing the blue. You don't have to worry about which blue. You don't have to worry about the amount of light loss going from all white to a narrow blue, which is typically a very large amount of light loss. However, that said, I'd be the first to tell you, a blue gel in the light is also a solid option.
Excellent. Thank you. This one's coming from Christopher Graham. Is AI crop, is AI crop strictly with Nexus, or will there be just a purchase that will feature it separately? Is this a separate module, or is it completely integrated into Nexus?
Great question. DT Nexus is the house for AI crop as it stands. DT is always open to discussing OEM or custom deployment. We have done a variety of custom code over the years, integrating technology we've made into custom pipelines. So if you are dealing with a large-scale project and you want to use the capability of AI crop in a different context, you're certainly welcome to reach out and we can discuss it. But as far as off the shelf, if you want AI crop, it'll be in DT Nexus.
Okay, thank you.
At least for today.
Yeah. The next question is coming from Alejandro Rizalde. We find that Capture One struggles with cropping items that are being held with clear stretching bands, could be Mylar or something else. Do you know if the AI tool can successfully crop these?
So my first answer to any question about can AI crop do X is when it's available, please try it. If you'd like a preview, if you want to send me an email with a couple files, I'm very glad to test it very specifically for you to see if it's working well. But that is exactly the kind of scenario, exactly the kind of nuanced image that I expect AI crop to do exceptionally well on. So I don't want to shoot myself in the foot making a prediction about an image I haven't seen, but I think it would work quite well. And that's kind of why we needed AI crop and not a more simplistic computer vision rectangle finding algorithm.
We could use some sample images.
Yep. And here's the other thing. That is a reasonably common modality in heritage imaging. So if it's not working well, that fits right into our wheelhouse to want to make better, and we can use your images to help improve the future model for it.
Excellent. The next question is coming from Natasha Zoglin. Once DT Nexus is out of beta, will it still be free, or will you have to purchase it?
It will cost money. We have not decided how much and in what ways. We've tried to ask our programmers to work for free, but they keep insisting they need to get paid. So it will be a paid thing. But for right now, it's free, and it will be free for the coming months. So if you'd like to try it, now is a great time to do it.
We have a few people asking the same question. Will DT Nexus ever work on the Windows platform?
We don't have any current plans for a Nexus that would work on Windows. The reason is not our dislike for Windows, though personally I prefer Mac. I am very glad to provide solutions on Windows. The issue is we're a companion app to Capture One. The way that we companion, the way that we tether, the way that we interoperate between those two programs and make it seamless is a technology called AppleScript, which is only available on the Mac. So for the foreseeable future, it is Mac only.
Our next question comes from Rebecca Wack of NYPL. What are you anticipating in terms of cost billing model for Nexus, which relates a little bit to the other question about when it gets out of beta?
Research and development defers to sales and ownership.
Yeah. So is that a question for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have an answer yet. We don't know what the model is yet for billing Nexus, or if it will be billed, or how this will all work yet. Right now, we just want to make a great tool.
The thing that I think we're going to base the consideration off of is sustainability.
Yep.
We don't want this to be a one release and then abandoned software. We want it to be something we can make an ongoing commitment to. So that will be the main driver in deciding how we deal with pricing.
Yep. So we don't have an answer yet. It's a short answer. This next question is coming from Matt Karasimi. With everything that Nexus offers, what else do we really need? Do we really get with C1CH now? just a resolution and an auto column support?
So if you have an IX camera,
Yeah.
and you have Capture One CH and a DT auto column, that combination of three things provides you both remote camera control in terms of height and provides you auto PPI, wherein you can tell it, I want to go to 600 PPI. It finds the distance to the object, it moves the camera to the appropriate distance, and it refocuses, allowing you to switch from 600 to 400 PPI in one click. That is, I think, the single biggest feature. The resolution ruler, the included ICC profiles for default color are also, I think, significant features, but you are correct that Capture One CH's auto crop feature, in my opinion, will be superseded by AI crop for almost all use cases. So that feature distinction would no longer be as relevant.
The next question comes from James Senzer. Are there any plans to integrate color negative film inversion into Nexus or another software package? Does the transmissive target substantially help with color negative film inversion? Really two questions in one, Doug.
I can answer the second one for you. The transmissive targets do not substantively make an improvement to color negative inversion. Are there plans for DT Nexus to include color negative inversion, Pete?
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
We're looking into something. That's all I could say.
We have no announcements to make today.
Not today. Our next question is coming from John Fenton. You mentioned using stellar fusion with a monochrome camera for black and white film. What about the IXH150?
So when you're doing the monochrome blue light only technique, we have had Otter in Norway exploring whether or not there is an increase in resolution if you're using a color camera and blue light. And the results of that, I would say, were mixed and not totally clear. It seemed like there was some improvement, but maybe not nearly as much. I would not personally say that I would expect that modality to have significant effect. The significant effect is combining a black and white sensor with a blue light. If you do that, I can guarantee you significant improvement in total detail. If you're using a color camera and a blue light, results are not totally clear, but not clearly significantly better.
Okay, we just have time for one or two more questions. Let's go to Paul Eckhoff, to the host and panelists. When cropping to a standard pixel dimension output, when cropping to a standard pixel dimension output, pixel dimension alongside with a variety of images, I would assume this will require a level of interpolation. Does that affect any FATG metamorphosa criteria / performance?
So I think that there might be some conflation here between what I was showing, which is setting the crop size as opposed to setting the output of that crop. Capture One and DT Nexus could do either of those things, but the more common workflow here would be that the objects are individually about the same size, but AI crop is a couple pixels this way, a couple pixels that way, and therefore you want to standardize that to have the same width of crop, which would then separately be output to a certain dimension, not necessarily resizing the object, but resizing the crop, tweaking it so that it's finding the same thing that's the same size to the exact same pixel as opposed to very close but not identical sizes. I hope that clears it up. If not, email me. I'm glad to walk you through the use case.
Excuse me here.
But yeah, generally upsizing is not recommended in FATG and metamorphosis and ISO.
Otar has a question about metadata support, and I think Matt's going to cover that a bit, right?
I think that's right.
So we'll skip that. We're going to defer that to the next presentation, Otar. Zach Fox has a question. What is the max PPI you expect for 35mm materials with the new higher megapixel camera?
We are not ready to announce that yet.
Yeah, but it'll be a lot.
It's got a lot of pixels to throw at the problem.
Yeah, whether they're good pixels or not, that's the question. Okay, well, that really wraps us up for this session. We're going to need to move on to Matthew. Doug, thank you so much. Great job.